Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender, me, myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. Game is published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. We were getting ready to go into the April 1944 turn. Before we go there, I do need to make a statement of fact for everyone. A long time ago, back in June of 1941, when we did the East Invaded event, I mistakenly took two extra Russian infantry off the conditional track that are supposed to be held back for the southern border. I had misread the rule, been playing it wrong for quite some time. The seeded markers have to be in the conditional box for you to get extra infantry. Since all of mine were in the seeded box, I shouldn't have gotten those extra two infantry. That very well could have been the reason why the Russians were not collapsed in late 1942, because I did drive them all the way down to 8 will. To compensate for that, I really don't want to replay that much of the war, even though I have saved games that I could go back to. We've progressed far enough that this is a very interesting situation, so I want to keep it. However, I did make a concession to the Germans. On the Eastern Front, in Hex 2646, there used to be a regular infantry, and in Hex 1847, there used to be a regular infantry. I've removed those infantry and put them on the faction card. Basically, it's a couple of units that were in contact with the Germans, which could have helped me here in the poor weather doing assaults, which now I'll actually have to move units into those spaces, which could, affect me being able to effectively assault units in that area. So, sorry about that. Something to watch out for. Make sure you read the rules carefully, because I've been playing that wrong for, 8-9 games now, where I've given the Russians too much infantry. So we're going to go and start up with weather here, using the new weather rules. We are in March, April. There's only two choices for the cold zone, and you can't have what you had in March in the month of April. So it can't have severe. The only other choice is poor, so we just move it to poor. In the mild zone, we either have to have fair or poor. So I need to roll 1, 2, or 3. Other die rolls get re-rolled. So here we go. In the mild zone, roll to 6. That's severe. I'm not allowed to have that. Got to roll again. Roll to 1. That's fair. I'm allowed to have that. So a fair weather turn in April of 1944. Oh, boy. Now what do I do? And then in the warm zone, I can't have fair. It has to be poor or severe. So 1s and 2s have to be re-rolled. 1s and 2s? Yeah, 1s and 2s. So I roll for the mild zone, or the warm zone. A 2, that's fair. Can't have that. Got to roll again. A 3, that's poor. I'm allowed to have that. So, interesting weather. The West has fair weather. Interesting. France is invadable here. I need to think hard about that for the Germans on what exactly I'm going to do. That's the weather phase. Nobody's going to declare war at this turn. The economy phase. That's not the economy. That's the faction card. That's to show you that I did put those two infantry units in the conditional box where they belong. National tracks. The Germans went up to 6 extra factories from their economic reforms. And with 15 minus 1, or 2, is 13, plus 6 is 19. That gives them 38 production points. British are still at 34. Russians are still at 40. Germans are not giving any to their allies, especially with a fair weather turn in the West. Going to need to do something here. All my units are in the mild zone because I crossed that line to try and get the weather in the winter, and now they're all in fair. So many may be the attack here by the Western Allies. I have to think about that. That's the economy phase, strategic warfare phase. The Germans are at +1. Russians are at +2 because of the Germans have their airplane in Norway, and Russians have 6 conquered countries on the German card. So if you look at the faction track, the Russians do have 2 partisans. They think that they kind of in concert with the West that we need to really start chipping away at the German factories. So they're thinking seriously that they need to play their partisans. And the Germans, from the logic that I worked out last time, if I take 1 back from the Russians and then lose it to the West, I just kind of stay where I'm at, and I can afford to stay at 2 lost factories. I don't want to get up to 3 or 4. So when we get to combat commitment, everybody commits. The Germans commit their subs, the Russians commit their partisans. So we're going to have our die rolls. The Germans roll A 2 plus 1 is a 3. Halved to 1.5 becomes a 2. And the Russians roll a 3 plus 2 is 5. Halved to 2.5 rounds up to a 3. 3 to a 2, the Germans get their... It worked out the way the Germans wanted to. They temporarily get their factory loss marker back. Now, we have to roll to see when all this stuff comes back. The German submarines come back 2 turns. They'll be back in June. And the partisan marker comes back in 6 turns, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they won't see it again until October. They'll be able to use it in the muddy months of October and November. That's not good for the Russians. Now we go to the West. The West is actually a +4. +2 for the Americans, and they have 2 bomb markers up here. It's +1 to +4. If you look at the best die rolls, the Germans could get a 7. And the worst the Americans could get would be a 5. So that would be a diamond. The Germans roll a 7, and at +4, I have to roll a 6 to force an AS. I really want to get at least that 1 factory back, so I'm going to go ahead and spend my ultra marker. Much as I would like to keep it for combat, I think I really need to start pushing on this. Got to get the German factories down at least a little bit. Try and give them some economic woes. So the German die roll will be halved, the British one won't be. The Germans rolled a 4 plus 1 is a 5. Halved to 2.5 rounds up to a 3. So the Germans have a 3, and the Allies have a 6. And if you go to combat results table, a 3 to a 6 is an AS 2 plus 2. So they did get the factory back. So the Germans are still down only 2. And then the Allies have to roll for their ultra marker, and it comes back in 6 turns. 4, 5, 6. So doesn't look like strategic warfare is going to work out for me. Despite what I keep trying to do. It just can't get decent die roll splits. I'll put those bound markers on there. I'll be using them again soon. It is fair weather here. So that's strategic warfare. Strategic movement. The Germans did not do one last turn. And I'm not really sure I want to do a strategic move this turn. Oh, it's fair. Does he have anything in... Got to check something. This is something Germans need to watch out for. Currently, he doesn't have the ability to do it. If he had a unit, well, he could send the London garrison. This could be a problem. He could move like the BEF back into Britain and then send the London garrison on this little tirade. One of the things that the British can do is from Sea Zone 10 or Sea Zone 2 is that it's 2 sea zones to invade. Oh no, they can't. Okay, I don't have to worry about Bremen. Okay, so I just need to worry about France. I was thinking they could invade Bremen, but they actually have to be on Sea Zone 11 to get there with 2 naval moves. But farthest thing gets 2419, and that's not adjacent to a port, which is the requirement for doing an invasion. Must invade a hex that's adjacent to a port. So Bremen is safe for a little while. With that in mind, I really don't see a strategic movement for the Germans. I'm kind of just waiting for the shoe to drop, so to speak, to figure out where I need to run somebody in a big hurry. So far, the shoe hasn't quite dropped. It's getting close, but it hasn't quite dropped yet. So I'm going to skip it. There's none for the West. There's none for the Soviets. Axis operations phase. I can't get to the guy in Kalinin. He's 8 hexes away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is annoying. I think I need to slow down this first air up in the north, so I'm going to take a shot with the German infantry. They are at +2 for German, -2 for the weather, because it's poor. And the Russians are -2 for the weather. So it's a 0 to a -2. And the Germans are all a 4. And the Russians are all a 5. -2 is a 3, so that's 1 sword each. And then we'll do it again at -1 to -3. And the Germans are all A 3 minus 1 is a 2. Doesn't matter what the Russians roll, they can never do more than 1 to me. This is because I know the combat results table so well that I know that a 3 to a 2 is always a diamond and stuff like that. So now the Germans are at -2. Russians are at -4. I need to roll 5 or 6 to get a 2 for 1 shot. So Germans will roll a 3. They don't get it. They go up to 3. The Russians go up to 3. And then I'm going to throw it one more time at -3, trying to get a 6. Because that would give me a 2 for 1 split. And Germans roll a 5. Not quite there. So they get it up to 4. He's up to 4. And the question is, with this Kalinin aircraft available, he's probably just going to move it up and counter-air me anyway. So I'm just wondering if I should just knock out the Bologoya aircraft and call it a day. Or do I want to keep the German airplane and force him to fight me? I'll be at -4. Spestal gets a 2. He'll be at -2. He could actually get a 2 for 1 split if he rolled a 6. He should actually be at -3. 3. Well, let's go see what else we can do here. I do want to try and break up some of the southern airplanes. So 4th Luft against the 3rd Air. That's back to a 0 for the... not minus. 0 for the Germans and -2 for the Russians. So we'll roll that one. Oh, the Germans rolled a 6. Best the Russians can roll is a 4. If they roll really low, I could get a 3 for 1 split here. They rolled a 2. -2 makes it a 1. If you look in the combat results table, that's the best result the Germans can get, because it's +3 sorties. 6 to a 1. So, yay, Germany, 4th Luft. It did it. What did I just do? I need to undo whatever I just did. I did a delete instead of a sortie. And then the Russians take 3 sorties. Wow, that's really good. I think I will go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I will do that again. I'm at -1 and he's at -5 now. And the Germans roll a 2. -1 is a 1. So we each take 1 sortie. It's the only thing I can really do with this airplane is to go after this guy. So I think I'm going to just keep going. I'm at -2. He's at -6. So I need a 5 or a 6. I got another 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and take 2 sorties on here. I'll be at 4. He'll be at 6. And then I'm going to have the 5th Luft go after the 2nd Air, which is southeast of Bryansk. I'm back at 0. He's at -2. And we try again. The Germans roll a 3. And the Russians roll a 3. -2 is a 1, so that's a 2 for 1 split. Germans need to get 2 for 1 splits here to make this effective. They're going to take their -1 and go ahead and go against the guy at Kursk. So I still have better odds of possibly getting him. Still need to roll high. 2 is not high enough. That's going to only do 1 sortie to him at Kursk and 1 sortie to me. Well, actually, the Russians were at -2. They might... 5 -2 is a 3, and I'm a 1. 1 to a 3 is an AS2, so I take 2 sorties on the guy in Kiev for his 1 in Kursk. Oh, that's not good. I will have Kiev go at -3 to -4 on the guy outside of Bryansk. Did not get a 6. So Germans get another 1. -4 to -4 means we're just an even exchange. So I can do another sortie here to take me up to 5. And then I'll do another sortie here, take me up to 6. And I guess that's the best I can do right now. just couldn't quite get off the good attacks. So that takes care of the airplane issue. Now I have to try and figure out a way to make this work. It's poor weather, so I'm going to go ahead and activate. I'm going to try this. I'm going to go whole hog on this. I'm going to do the 1st, the 20th, and the 4th for 3. And we're going to activate all 3 of these. They're going to assault the 6 guards. The Russians can throw on a tank and an airplane to be at +3. I'm at +2, +3, +4. I can't throw in an airplane. I could throw in a tank to be at +5, -1 for the weather, +4 to +3, and then I could throw in the heavy artillery. All right, so we go to combat commitment. Everybody's going to commit. Germans will start by throwing their tanks marker, and the Russians will answer by throwing a tanks marker. And then the Germans will throw in their heavy artillery, and the Russians will go ahead and let's double check here. 3, 4, 5. They're going to use the one outside of Bryansk and add in a sortie, because the guy in Odessa can't do anything at this point. Okay, so let's do the math here. The Germans start off +2 because of Germans. That's the 4th Infantry. +1 for a tanks marker. Well, doesn't matter where it's played. +1 for a tanks marker, and +2 for heavy artillery, and then +1 for each of his buddies. So he's +7, and then he's -1 for the weather. So he's at +6. The Russians start off at +1 because they're elite, +1 because they threw a tanks marker, and +1 because they threw an airplane. So it's +6 to +3. And we'll see what the Germans roll. A 6 + 6 is a 12. That's a good die roll. Russians roll 3 + 3 is a 6. I think that's just good enough. A 12 to a 6. Yes, it's just enough to be a DR, which is what I needed to save that Russian guards unit. If I'd have rolled 1 pip lower, if I'd have rolled a 2, it would have been a DD result, and I would have been not only flipped, but then forced to retreat and unable to. So, kaput. Alright, we gotta go put stuff on the turn track here. Russian tanks. German tanks. And the Germans have to roll for their heavy artillery. 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Well, that didn't work like I wanted it to. So I'm going to still be in a debacle here, down here. I guess the question arises, is there anything else for me really to do in the east? The only thing I can think of is that I might want to back up the 2nd Panzer. Get it out of the line so it doesn't end up, getting surrounded with no zones of control or some silly thing that I'm not seeing. So I'm going to move him back to 2345 so that he's kind of in reserve. And that's 2 more production points to do that. That puts me at 33. And then we have to go do there's a serious problem here in Italy. British and Americans can kind of at will do whatever they like. And they've got airplanes, and they've got the 3rd Armored could actually invade. And then the 1st French could come in and reinforce and then be replenished before I could do anything about it. Ugh, this is not looking good for me. I do not like this. Part of me says just run away and let them have France, but It's too early. It's only April. Ha ha ha. It's only April. Well, I can't really let them have a free surrounding of the 3rd Panzer. So I think I'm going to have to retreat it at least one, a few hexes to try and shore things up. I really don't have a lot of German infantry to help hold with this armor. So the armor's kind of key. And I really don't want to sacrifice German infantry to their armor. I suppose I could. Well, attacking is silly. He's got way more airplanes than me. And I'd have to move the airplane up to even be effective. Because I'm right at my edge of my 5. So, rather have the British come attack me with their airplanes. So I think I'm going to get this 3rd Panzer. I'm going to move him back to 3111, which kind of gives me good retreat routes. You can still land at 3011 and then try and assault it, but he wouldn't get his Navy bonus, and he'd be -1 for attacking me. So I'd be at +4. He does have an airdrop marker. He does have a partisans, I think. Better check. He does have an airdrop. He does not have his partisans marker yet. So he has an airdrop marker and 2 surprise attack markers. So, yeah, he could try to do something here. I think I can stop some of that by judicious. Probably should have used my strategic move to give up Marseille. Oh well. Where do I go here? 3111 is still a bad hack. If I go here, I'm basically giving up southern France. Could go to 3112. That's probably the best hex to go in. I do want to make him attack Cherbourg, just in case I get a 6-1 split in my favor. He'll be plus ridiculous. He'll be like +7 or something. Because it'll be isolated. And then the 5th Panzer is going to just sit there and hope that it can retreat down the Loire and slow down the American advance here. And hopefully then we get poor weather next turn to kind of let me reset my lines. It's just not really good here. That was another 2, so I should be down to 31. Because I spent 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I started at 38, so. Unfortunately, now I have to think seriously about what am I going to do in the Med here. Because I have a similar problem here. The Americans could just have the 9th. The British could move the 9th Army to, block the 2nd, where the 5th is. And then the Americans could move 1, 2 to Milan and attack for 3, so that'd be 5. And they'd be +5 to -1, +4 to +2, and their airplanes will probably do in my 6th Luft and still be able to throw a sortie or 2. So they could conceivably push me back across the 1st Alpine line with this clear weather turn. I think that's not such a bad thing. I could retreat to that line, but then if they get a lucky, die roll, they get a 6-1 split, then they pierce that first set of ridgelines here along the northern Italian border. So I'm thinking I almost want to let them go ahead and attack one of these. And then I can retreat. That kind of thing. And see if that doesn't work out better for me. So I'm going to take a chance with the Germans. I'm going to leave the second down here. Trying to offer him some targets to go sideways, but I don't think he's going to go sideways. He's going to go for southern Germany. Munich and Prague and stuff, loom prominently there that if I can bust this line, might be worth going after him. Might see the Third Army come down here via sea transport to help exploit the following clear weather turns if I can break the Alpine line. Okay, so that's the Allied thought. The Germans are like, I think he's going to force retreats and I'll be able to hold myself behind the Alpine line. So we're going to see if that works. The Germans are going to hold off there. What do they got? They got 31 left. I'm going to end up having 1, 2, 3. I figure I'm going to have at least 6 airplanes. That's 18. So do I want to move anything around? That attack, I have to almost hold the line where it's at. If that attack had worked, I would have been able to possibly maybe shift the line back one, but I think I just have to hold where I'm at. I've got at least 18 in airplanes to do, and I'm afraid I'm going to have some flipped units here because of this fair weather in the clear zones here, or in the mild zone. So, yeah, I'm just going to hang on to my production. Really don't see a lot to do with the Germans. I'm kind of like waiting for the thing to break so that I know where to try and run and defend. If I run away too soon, he just closes up the line and gets me. There's going to be 4 clear weather turns more this year, minimum. So he's getting a 5th one right now, and I'm worried here in the mild zone. But I don't think there's anything else I can do. That's just about my time for Germany. So we're going to call that the German turn, as much as I hate to leave it that way. I didn't do well on the Russian airplanes as well as I'd like to have. So, yep, everything's in supply. Well, that's going to be it. I am Dren608. This is the Me, Myself, and I Play Through the main event scenario. If you like my videos, please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And we will be back shortly with the Western Operations phase of April 1944. Until then, bye-bye.